Good afternoon. You're listening to Gambling with an Edge. Now here are your hosts, Bob Dancer and Richard Munchkin.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Gambling with an Edge. I'm Bob Dancer.
And I'm Richard Munchkin.
Today is another Bob and Richard answer their mail. We do a lot of these, and we still get more mail, and we welcome more. Send more to gamblingwithanedge@gmail.com. Add them into the end of any podcast questions. Send them to Richard or me individually. Richard has a Twitter account you can reach.
At RWM21.
Yeah, something like that. First question. I'm someone who has read some books on AP and watched some videos and listened to a lot of your podcasts about AP. Could somebody let me know how much I can realistically earn in a year doing this full time with a $100,000 bankroll? All right. That's a good question. And the best answer is it depends. There's a difference between reading some books and being good at something. If you're willing to travel, you open yourself up to more money than if you plan to stay put. There are lots of AP plays. Nobody's good at all of them. Which ones are you planning on specializing in? Are you thinking of playing 5 hours a week or 105? Are you going to be playing solo or with a team of some sort? Are you good at scouting and finding the plays? Casinos don't actually advertise APs come here and kick our butts. Do you have a mentor or a network of successful APs that can show you the ropes? Are you good at staying under the casino's radar so you can keep your welcome? What you win and what you take home are different. How frugal are you expense-wise? What is your race and gender? Richard has argued that female Asians have a $1 million advantage over white males. James Grosjean has agreed with Richard's premise, so that makes it true. With that said, there are APs earning 7 figures a year. Not many. There are a lot earning 6 figures a year. A lot more earned in the 5 figures. There are also more than a few who are not nearly as good as they think they are and end up losing money. Richard, can you be any more specific than this?
Well, I would just like to add, first of all, we had another question that's very similar to this, only this guy had a 500K bankroll, and he doesn't care about getting burned out and because he's moving out of the country in a few years. But it really boils down to, I'm going to kind of boil down Bob's answer to its essence, which is how hard are you going to work? And how good is your network? And the second one is probably more important. The first year, if you have no network at all and no one to, it depends on what you're trying to play, but if you have no one who can sort of look at your play and say, yes, you're playing well, you have an edge, it's very possible that you could be out there and be a losing player without even realizing it. People overestimate their ability all the time. And having a network could be the difference between, making 6 figures the first year and being a loser the first year. And depending on your network is going to depend on how good your edge is, right? If you were to meet up with the right people, it would be very easy to make 6 figures a year. But if you meet up with the wrong people, again, you could be grinding away at $10 an hour or something. So, and also you have to think about your lifestyle. Being a blackjack card counter is going to be a very different lifestyle than being a professional poker player. One is going to be on the road constantly. One is sitting in a chair for 10 or 12 hours a day. So as Bob says, it all boils down to it depends.
And even with all that, it's how good are you? You look at professional baseball players from, the Major League All-Stars and minor league players. Just to get to the minor leagues, you have to be damn good. But there's a real big difference between the minor league players and the American League All-Stars, or the Professional League All-Stars. So there's a significant amount of skill that it takes time to get. And we don't get that from the get-go. All right, new question. When I was a ploppy, I used to rat hole chips all the time for money management purposes, never thinking anything about it. I've read several threads about rat holing, which made me really paranoid about doing something that once seemed natural. What do you think of rat holing in plain view, like I did as an innocent ploppy? This is a Richard question.
Well, what do you mean it doesn't seem natural? You just said that as a ploppy you did it all the time, and so do a vast number of ploppies. Rat holing is not uncommon at all, so there's no reason to be paranoid about it. The problem with doing it in plain view is then what's the point of rat holing? I mean, if you're playing with an edge and your idea is to rat hole, the idea is to hide how much you're winning from the casino. And if you're doing it in plain view, well, then you're not hiding what you're winning. So, you know, you want to find ways to do it surreptitiously so they don't know you're doing it. And if they catch you, so what? You just look like every other degenerate who sticks chips in his pocket. So I think when people start counting cards, they immediately think like that everybody in the casino is watching them and thinks that every action they take means that the casino might think they're an AP. And they don't think like that in the casinos. They really don't. They're not looking for APs under the bed every night. So, yeah, learn to do it secretly. And if they see it, so what?
I just did a big spin promotion at a major property, Caesars owns. You earn spins on $25 old-style reel double diamond machines based on points earned. The strange part is that based on observation, the payout percentage looked to be around 30%. I know slot machines have standard mode and tournament mode. As far as you know, do these machines also have a promotional mode where the payouts can be set way below a legal minimum, like below 75%? Okay, if I'm understanding this correctly, you didn't put any money directly into the machine. You put special tokens earned by playing another machine. These tokens may have been the size of, say, $5 tokens, but the machine may have been calibrated to treat them as $2 tokens. It's only a 30% payout if you assume they were $5 tokens. If you assume they were $2 tokens, you're playing 100% game. Congratulations. In Nevada, this would be legal, I think. Not sure how the laws of other states or other tribes vary. The question now is if these are only $2 tokens, does the amount you receive make this a good play or not? You have to collect data and figure that out for yourself.
Yeah, I would just say that basically it's a free spin. They used to have a slot machine in front of the Tropicana where any person, you know, could come up and spin the machine for free. A number of casinos have done this. So if you're not paying for the spin, they can set the payout to anything they want.
Yeah. A lot more places than just the Tropicana.
Yeah.
If I have a friend who likes me to play on his card to boost his rating, have you ever heard of anybody getting 86 for receiving a W2G when in a situation like this? Well, every casino handles it differently. Some don't care whose card you're playing on. Others will restrict you the first time it happens. At the South Point, you're permitted in the rules to play on your spouse's card, but get a W2G on a non-spouse's card, you'll be paid and given a warning. A second occurrence will result in both of you and your friend being kicked out of the club.
Yeah, I would also say not only have I heard of people being 86th, I've heard of numerous cases of people being arrested. So Yeah, playing on another card is just realize it comes with a lot of risk.
Well, insofar as being arrested, that usually doesn't happen if you're playing on somebody else's card. It usually happens when you have 20 cards in your pocket and that they can see, and that you are going through just a shitload of cards. And that is clearly fraud. Bob Nersessian has said to the effect that if you get nailed for something like this, he wants no part of it. So find yourself another lawyer. Okay, do you have any tips, tricks, or resources on how to find out what a casino's exact gaming day? I hate to think about putting in a ton of play and hurting my offers by spilling it over into the next day. And many places you can just ask and they'll tell you. A host might hold 3 fingers in front of his chest and tell you he's not allowed to say, which of course lets you know it's 4 a.m. Some casinos won't tell you, but sometimes other players will tell you if you ask. If you look at the rules in promotion, often they will refer to things happening between 3 a.m. and 2:59 a.m. That tells you when the casino day is. Some casinos' slot readers include a daily score. Say you're playing near 2 a.m. You stop playing, go for a break, insert your card back at 2:05. If this shows you have 0 daily points, you know that 2 a.m. is the magic hour. If it shows points, do the same thing at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m. Sooner or later, you'll get the correct information. Have you heard of anyone getting flyered over machine play? How about getting into OSN or Able or other databases for machine play? You only hear about this for table games. So for winning at video poker games, yes, sometimes players get booted. I'm not sure if these players actually get flyered, but I've experienced the information getting passed to related properties.
Yeah, I would just say that in OSN they have the slot activity is usually people cheating at slots, or as Bob talked about earlier, guys who go in with a stack of players' cards and are downloading all the free play on the cards. So for example, the MGM properties in Las Vegas have gotten pretty aggressive about throwing out slot players. And so I would guess that their internal database, all of the chains have their own internal database, and I would guess that they are alerting the rest of the chain when they're throwing people out for playing slots.
And you can avoid that a little bit by not using your card. It makes them harder to figure out who you are if you're playing slots without a card. Although you hit a W2G, which happens fairly regularly, otherwise what's the use of playing these games? Then the jig is up. Next question. I was flat betted forever at the Hard Rock in Atlantic City. They know who I am because of my player's card, since New Jersey has a law where players can't be banned. Do casinos have a record of who they backed off if I were to use my player's card again and move my bets? Does the flat bet in New Jersey mean that all other Hard Rock casinos in the country would know and have a record of who I am and if I tried to register for a player's card there? Richard, do you have any knowledge of the Hard Rock Atlantic City policies?
Well, I mean, the answer is yes and yes. Of course, if you use your player's card, they're going to immediately be alerted. There'll be a flag on your account when you use it. And welcome to the show. You must be a new listener because every other episode we say you should not use a player's card if you're a card counter. But so yes, all Hard Rock properties everywhere are going to have your name flagged in the system, and so you cannot use that player's card if you want to try to be able to count cards.
Okay, I count a 6-deck shoe using a ring and moving my feet for a side count of aces. If a casino were to catch me using the ring for a side count of aces, would that be considered using a device? Would the charge hold up in court? Would a jury convict, in your opinion? My answer is no, it's not a device. A device does not change the order of the cards. It does not affect who wins the play. It does affect what your strategy is, or those kind of things. Proving that to a jury is something else. That's why guys like Bob Nersessian exist. Whether or not it would hold up in court or with a jury, I'm sure Bob has a number of cases somewhat similar to this, and he's actually talked about a few on the air. So we'll just ask him again next time he's on.
I cannot imagine anyone getting arrested for this. And even if some idiot tried to get the police to arrest you and they did it, I cannot imagine this case ever going to court. It's ridiculous. But I want to just sort of address something that wasn't your question, which is, why are you side counting aces on a 6-deck shoe? It's pointless. There is no reason to do that. I mean, get the software Casino Verite and run some simulations with your side count of aces and without your side count of aces. And, my bet is that you're actually making less money because trying to do a side count of aces in a 6-deck shoe, you're making more errors than you would if you just used a simple count. So I would try to dissuade you from using the side count of aces in the first place.
And in that case, don't use a ring when you're not side counting aces.
Actually, twist the ring anyway and hope they arrest you for it.
Yeah, so many players are fidgety. You're going to have to be having pretty spectacular results before they come to the conclusion that that's what's doing it.
Yeah. And if you just twist the ring a little as you're walking through the casino, well then, are they claiming you were side counting aces while you were walking through the casino?
Next question is more personal than I would prefer, but I'll deal with it anyway. They want to know if I've been banned from Boyd properties. More generally, what are some of the reasons casinos give for banning you? So I've not been banned from Boyd properties. I have been no-mailed, which is not the same thing. When you're no-mailed, you can go in and play. You don't get mails, and sometimes there are limits to what promotions you're eligible for. In 2019, I played a lot at some Boyd properties where I found good games. Currently, they're not on my list of places to play, but they may go back. Other casinos, in addition to no mailing a player, can restrict that player without actually barring. Station Casino comes to mind. That casino has restricted a lot of players, in addition to removing their mail, to not receiving certain point multipliers and not being eligible for certain tier benefits. Unless you're 86, which you definitely know because they get in your face and tell you, usually you don't know the level of restrictions you've accumulated. When your mailers stop, you don't know if at first it's because you didn't qualify this particular earning period, perhaps because you won too much, or if there's a more permanent thing. Over time, if you continue to play and still receive no mailers, you pretty much know for sure. Sometimes hosts can tell you what kind of restrictions are on your file, and sometimes they can't or won't. At Boyd Properties, my record is coded that I do not wish to receive mail. I actually have made no such request, and that's nonsense, and I suspect this is just the code that everybody at Boyd knows means don't send mail to people. But they have that designation on my record at every one of their properties. To override such a code takes a certain level of authority. For the most part, once you get no mailed, at Boyd anyway, you stay no mailed forever.
Was he asking specifically about getting backed off for video poker? Because I mean, his question was, what reason do they give? And when you get backed off for 86, the reason is because you win too much. The other reason that it happens is you get pointed out to them as an advantage player, and so they just don't want you. Maybe some boss used to work at another place where they barred you and he remembers you, so he tells them, hey, we don't want this player in here, he's an advantage player. So that's why you get barred, either winning too much money or being poisoned by someone who says you're an advantage player.
All right.
Sometimes it's mistaken identity. That happens too. You unfortunately look like somebody, and so they end up barring you.
Yeah, that happens to me a lot. They think I'm George Clooney, and so never mind. On an old Bob and Richard show, Richard talked about he raised his son with gambling as a possible career option. He can be the first person to write about raising a degenerate. Well, perhaps your question is meant to be a joke, but it wasn't funny. A professional gambler is not all the same as a degenerate, although there is some overlap in some people. A professional gambler has the skills to gamble with an edge in a casino. It's not inevitable that such a person has money or other problems. A degenerate gambler is someone who often does not have an edge in a casino, does not have the wherewithal to keep his head above water. Such a person typically has major money problems and trouble keeping relationships. Did you want to address this specifically?
Well, I would just say, just because I'm a professional doesn't mean that my family would be immune from having the disease of a gambling addiction. I mean, fortunately, they don't. But, I mean, the same would be true of drinking wine at dinner, and I could have someone end up an alcoholic or whatever. So, yeah, maybe it was an attempt at humor, but I agree, really not funny. But, I should say this. I think it's really important or I thought it was important for my kids to learn about expected value. Those are the things I think they should be teaching in math class. They're much more important for life skills than trig.
All right. Somebody sent us a big chart telling them that it was a summary of his M-Life gambling for 2021. This is based on 3 trips of 3 days each. Can you determine about what my ADT is, average daily theoretical, and then coin in, coin out, and so he in this list he does include coin in, coin out, and jackpots. So my answer is you cannot figure ADT on the basis of your records. You don't mention what game you're playing at each place. Even then, it's not enough information. If you were playing 9-6 double-double bonus, for example, which has a 1.02% house edge, that doesn't tell what the casino has it listed as a theoretical. It could be 1.02, which means the casino presumes you play perfectly. It could be any number higher than that. If it were 4.02, for example, it means the casinos think you make 3% in errors, which would be an extraordinarily high figure. If that were true, playing that game would be profitable because the casino might give you back half of your theoretical, which could easily surpass what you actually spend. In practice, MLife probably has this game listed as 1.2, in which case the game would not be played profitably. Do you have any questions, Richard? Or any comment?
No.
I've been playing for 6 years now, and I've enjoyed comps, rooms, dinners, golf supplies, etc. I've had years where I made a profit of $8,000 and years where I've lost $8,000. I finally know now a few good games with 2-deck $25 minimum, $5 max hand, shuffle 3-2, etc. What bankroll would you recommend for this? Richard.
I would recommend that. So are you saying that you now want to go up to betting 2 hands of 500? You're going to have much bigger swings than 8,000 in a year. You're going to have bigger swings than 8,000 in a day. So, and also you're going to, well, if you play double deck with any kind of spread at all, you're going to get backed off very quickly. So, you don't want to use a player's card so you can say goodbye to the golf and all that other stuff. But those things have value. I mean, golf is expensive, and getting golf comps can be very worthwhile. So you might want to consider just basically being a comp player. So you could count cards, but with a very, very small spread where you're making your EV off the room and the food and the golf, and that way you don't risk getting backed off, or you may not risk getting backed off. People sometimes get backed off with a spread as little as 1-3 on double deck games. So, but to answer those kind of questions, I would say get the software, get Casino Verite, and you'll be able to run simulations till your heart's content with all different bet spreads and things like that.
Next question. I've read Stanford Wong's Sharp Sports Betting, and he mentioned correlated parlays as a means to obtain an advantage over the house. I visited relatives in Iowa over the holidays, and multiple sportsbook apps offered single-game parlays. This seems too good to be true. Without an actual in-depth actuarial analysis, does a casual bettor have any chance of winning long-term parlays like the over and a player exceeding a certain number of yards? Or are the house edges in these prop bets typically so high that a mild correlation would not result in the house losing the edge? And I recommend you get familiar with the ins and outs of the unabated.com website. They have a lot of information there about correlated bets. And I haven't studied it because sports betting is not my game. But it's an excellent place to start. Once you've mastered everything that's there, which is a huge undertaking, you can write the question to Captain Jack Andrews, and maybe he'll address it on the air on one of his podcasts. And by the way, Captain Jack and Rufus Peabody are going to be our guests next week as we talk about Super Bowl prop bets. Yeah, I'm sure unabated.com is going to be mentioned.
Yeah, I would just add that the casinos have read the book too. They figured out about correlated parlays a long time ago, and those bets are really, really popular. So mostly they're baked in. They have baked in the fact that they're correlated. So yeah, it's when you say it's too good to be true, if it's too good to be true, it probably isn't, and most of those bets, are not that good. But I believe that there is a tool on the Unabated site to tell you what the house edge is on those individual bets.
Okay, next question. What's the best way to fly across the country with a $20,000 bankroll? I want to fly from Florida to Vegas, but I'm concerned about having it confiscated by TSA at the airport. Also, I do not want to deposit it in the bank and then withdraw it in Las Vegas because I do not want my bank account to be closed for having too many large cash transactions. What do you recommend for traveling across the country by flight with large sums of money? So we talked about TSA PreCheck. Once you fill out the paperwork, it's an $85 for 5 years, which is peanuts compared to what you're risking your money getting confiscated. This allows you to go unscanned through airport security and have papers, including money, in your pockets. I don't suggest you have the money visible in bulging pockets, but no offense intended, $20,000 isn't all that much. It should be easy to hide that in pockets, perhaps cargo pants, without any telltale bulges at all. Richard.
So I would add, I would spend the extra $15 to get the global entry visa, which includes TSA pre, but also allows you to speed through immigration if you are taking any trips in and out of the country in the next 5 years. But also, I would say currently it is much, much safer to fly with money than it is to drive. I haven't heard of anybody getting money confiscated in an airport in quite a long time. So, and as Bob says, 20,000 is not that much. So, if you have TSA pre, then I would just keep it in my pockets and make sure there's nothing metal in your pockets so that you won't set off the metal detector when you step through it. And it shouldn't be a problem at all. But even if they find it, even if they happen to notice that you're carrying 20,000, I would be very surprised if you if you had a problem. Maybe, if you're young and ethnic and, you're going to maybe run into more problems than an old white guy would. But, yeah, I wouldn't worry about it much.
Do you have any idea how much you have to win at blackjack or baccarat in a casino before you get kicked out for being a winning player? I don't want to burn out my local casino, but I would very much like to play there every day of the month, as close as possible to every day, if I can. I want to win enough every day to maximize profits, but not to get on my casino's radar. I thought I heard on your podcast that many casinos will take note if you win more than $5,000. So my thoughts were to keep it under $5,000, maybe $3,000 to $4,000 a day, to be able to consistently take money out of my local casino without getting kicked out for being a winning player. Also, thinking about rat-holing winnings above $5,000 to keep it under $5,000, or if I'm on a hot streak. Do you have any recommendations on this subject, Richard, after you stop laughing?
Well, I'm very curious how you're getting your edge, especially at baccarat. Now, I'm not saying that can't be done, but someone who knows how to get an edge at baccarat probably would not be asking this question and would not assume that they're going to be able to win 3,000 or 4,000 a day every day. Yeah. So as I say, I'm wondering, but to actually answer the question, every single casino is different, and there are casinos that will throw you out for winning $200, and there are casinos where you could win $100,000 and not get thrown out. So it just depends on the casino.
And now you can depend that it's time to have a commercial break. The South Point has more than 10,000 games, returning at least 99%. This is more than anyone else has. Throughout February, the $500,000 Crazy Cupid Money Madness will have 2 casino-wide promotions running at all time. The larger promotion, which starts at $10,000 and must be hit before $25,000, gives all active players $25 in free play when the promotion is hit by another player. The smaller promotion, which starts at $1,000 and must be hit by $2,500, is scheduled to be hit approximately 3 times a day. Once hit, these progressives will immediately restart again and continue to do so until they are hit after 3 a.m. on March 1st. To be eligible for both promotions, players must have played $1 in coin-in in the previous minute.
Hey, this is Colin from Blackjack Apprenticeship, and if you're serious about card counting, I'm sure Bob and Richard would agree that there are 3 things every advantage player needs to succeed. You need to gain the edge over the house, you need to manage your bankroll, and you need to get the hours in at the casinos. After a decade of playing professionally and running teams, I wanted to create the exact training, tools, and community I wished I had had for myself and my blackjack teams, so we created the Blackjack Apprenticeship membership. Our membership will help you perfect your game, manage your bankroll, and you'll join a supportive community of like-minded card counters and APs. Find out more at blackjackapprenticeship.com.
Videopoker.com is the best place to play lots of games. If you sign up for the gold membership, $8.95 a month or $79.95 a year, this allows you to get correction on many of the games. The game of the week is Peek and Play Poker. This is a 7 coins per line game where you get to see the first card off the pack of 47. You must take that card, assuming you don't hold all 5 original ones. Let's say you're dealt ace, king, queen, jack of spades, and a red 4. In normal video poker, you hold all 4 spades, say a prayer, and go for royal. Here, you're not going to get that royal. Well, let's assume that the peak card is another ace. Well, goodbye royal flush. Here you just hold the ace you're dealt because you know that another ace is coming, and the new ace will be paired off by the first ace coming off the deck, and you hope for the best. You have to work out the strategy on your own, and it's an interesting game to play, but currently the game was constructed in an era where they did not create games that paid more than 99%. So it's a relatively rare promotion that makes this a positive game, but it certainly can happen. Certainly if the theoretical was listed as being high. All right. I want to know your opinion on video poker games being legitimate and dealt fairly at offshore casinos such as Bovada. Has Bob ever done AP video poker plays on these sites? And I have not. When it first became a thing, I thought the chances to cheat were too high. And if it was illegal, the government might go for famous players to set an example, which I thought I was. So I stayed away. Meaning I missed out on the mega dollars of sign-up bonuses that many players took advantage of. There were sites that cheated and sites that didn't, and I never paid much attention to which were which because I wasn't there. Michael Shackelford, among others, regularly posted on which sites were good and which ones weren't, partly because they advertised on the Wizard of Odds site and Shaq wouldn't put up with a site that wasn't square. I strongly suspect Bovada is being 100% fair dealing. But as to any other site, I have no information. Do you have any thoughts on that, Richard? Well, you played a lot on.
I played a lot online. Yes, there were places that cheated, but for the most part, I mean, they got bad reputations pretty quickly, and we avoided those places. But we ended up with years of playing, we ended up slightly over EV. And, I'm talking about millions of trials. Now, it wasn't all video poker. It was all different sorts of games. But
so slightly over EV implies that it generally was fair, and you combined with you got a little bit lucky.
Yes. Well, yeah, clearly we got a little lucky because, I don't think we could have. I don't think we could have been underestimating our EV. So, in the casinos, most people overestimate their EV. We would have had to have been underestimating, and I guess it's possible, but
yeah, well, one way I've underestimated EV in casinos is sometimes they have extra promotions I'm not really aware of. Or since monthly mailers in casinos are nebulous as to how much you're going to get when at most places, I tend to underestimate that rather than overestimate that. But I don't know if they had monthly mailers at these online casinos or not.
Well, the way we kept records, though, we kept records of every spin or every play of the hand. So, and how much was bet and, what the house edge was on the particular game. So.
All right. Next question. I was playing an 8-deck shoe where the dealer hit soft 17. I was counting, and as the running count rose to 27, the true count became about 7. The dealer dealt me a hard 2-card 16 against an 8. Because the count was so high, I decided to stand on my hand and ended up winning. My question is, did I make the right choice? Richard.
Who cares is my answer. I mean, anytime, I've said this many times on the air, anytime you are close to an index play, if it's really close, lean toward making the basic strategy play. And if you're trying to decide how much is the right bet, so for example, if you have a true count of 7 and maybe you're a little bit under 7 and you're trying to figure out how much to bet, I would bet I would round up on the betting and round down on the index play. So, yeah, you do not make your money from index plays. You make your money from how big your bet spread is, how deep the penetration is, and how many rounds per hour you're getting. That's where the money is.
Well, I read this question a little differently. I read it as the guy did not have his index numbers memorized, in which case he should study more before he goes and plays. And he wanted you to have a specific case of did he guess right? Which your answer of who cares seems to fit in.
See, so my index play for that is 7, right? And his scenario is just under 7, right? By a small fraction. So, was it close enough to make the play? And I'm saying, even though it was slightly less than 7 and the index number is 7, it doesn't matter. That's not where the money is. The money is in the bet spread, the penetration, and the rounds per hour.
And it also doesn't matter that this time it turned out well. This is not really about this time.
Yeah. And also, if you take just a few extra moments to think about how close is it, should I make this play, should I not? Well, you probably would make more money by just immediately making this basic strategy play and saving the time and getting another hand in.
Well, maybe, except with if his true count was +7, that was his largest bet of the day. And so you want to get your max bets right. Getting the minimum bets right or wrong is largely immaterial, but getting your max bets right is more important.
Well, he has the max bet out there. That's the important
thing. For
sure. So if he just plays the basic strategy play, he can't be wrong by much if he's wrong. In this case, actually, the basic strategy play is the right play.
All right. Next question is addressed to me. He wants to know if I keep records of how many dealt royals I have received. Our listener has received 18 in his video poker career, which he thinks is above average. I'm sure it is. Started playing in the late 90s, but I'm only a recreational player. I've met many people over the years who have never been dealt a royal. I've only had one royal, however, when I threw my hand away. Do I keep records on those too? Okay, I don't keep accurate records on this, but I believe I've been dealt about 30 royals lifetime, counting a dealt royal on a multi-line play as one, no matter whether I was playing triple play, 10 play, 100 play, etc. I've had 2 or 3 royals on a redraw on single line games. For a while, I regularly played 5-cent and 10-cent 100 play games, and probably had some there too, but it takes a lot of time to just go through every screen just to see something that is meaningless information. Each royal on those games would be $200 and $400, and so as long as it was under $1,200, I just let it go and kept playing. Being dealt a royal happens once every 650 hands, assuming you're playing with a 52 card deck.
600,000, right? You said
650,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had 30,000 dealt royals. No, okay. That's not a trivial amount of play. If you play exactly that many hands, you have about 1/3 chance of getting 0 dealt royals, 1/3 chance of getting 1 dealt royal, and 1/3 chance of getting 2 or more. This kind of cycle is true of any kind of, that would be the same kind of chances if you played exactly 40,000 hands and we're looking at how many royals you'd have. So, 18 dealt royals, you played a lot of hands. All right, next question. I'm interested in learning to count more for the purpose of generating comp offers for hotel rooms and meals in Las Vegas properties, as opposed to a source of income. Taking this into consideration, can you speculate on what level of stakes and spread would likely not to generate negative attention from the casino, but still allow me to generate these offers? I'm considering a bet range of 15 to 75. I will obviously be playing with a player's card. I most likely will be playing off the strip. Richard.
Yeah, that'll definitely get you backed off at Station and Boyd properties, which are the main ones to be playing off the strip. Yeah, I mean, I have seen flyers back when they had $5 tables of people getting flyered for going 5 to 30 in a Boyd property. You know, that's worth them paying $1,000 a month to the Griffin agency to get flyers like that, right? But anyway, yeah, if you're playing double deck in the Station or Boyd properties, I mean, almost any spread is going to get you backed off, I would say. Maybe they'll tolerate 1 to 2, something like that. I don't know.
Next question. If you only go and pick up free play at a casino, does the casino rate your play for that day? Does the answer change if the free play can be used with or without your player's card? Most casinos count it as a trip whenever you do anything in a casino. Picking up free play counts. In some places, using your points to eat in the coffee shop counts, or picking up a free gift. But casinos do vary somewhat. A friendly host can sometimes give you more information about what the policies are at that particular casino you're asking about. Do you have anything to add, Richard?
No.
Video poker progressives, the rule of thumb that every $1,000 on a $1 machines adds about 0.5% to the EV, assuming it's 5-coin max bet. Is this right? What would it be if you had to bet 10 coins to get the progressive? Obviously, the break-even point would be higher as well, but how much higher? Should those machines just be avoided? Well, you're generally correct on your rule of thumb for games where the royal cycle is about 40,000 coins. Some games, like ones where you receive 7 for 1 for the flush, have a much higher royal cycle. So that rule would not be correct. Consider a $10 coin dollar game to be a 5 coin $2 game. $1,000 is 500 coins, if you're thinking about it in $2 increments, meaning it increases the progressive by 0.25%. These games can get into positive areas just as well as the 5 coin games, as can the 20 coin games. It's just just kind of moving the decimal point. I'm a long-time poker player, but now getting into card counting. From poker, I've gotten players' cards at most nearby properties, as there was no downside at the time. If I play blackjack unrated at a property where I previously had a player's card and get back off, should I worry about the casino matching my picture to their existing player database? Richard.
Oh, you know what? That's an interesting question. I've never run across that before. I doubt it, but you do run the risk of a boss saying, "Oh, I know that guy's a poker player." But I mean, it doesn't mean you shouldn't play. You know what I mean? As long as you go and don't use the player's card anymore, you should still play the casino. I mean, if they end up putting it together and identifying you, well, that's going to happen eventually anyway. Guaranteed. If you're going to count cards seriously and put in any kind of serious hours, eventually they're going to figure out who you are. It's just, it's like going through puberty. Eventually it happens to everybody, and you just have to deal with it.
All right. What are the odds of getting a low 4 of a kind with a kicker? Well, I'm not sure how this translates into podcast. You may have to listen to it a couple times and write the numbers down. But the math is really easy once you get to it. There are 12 ways to get 4 deuces with a kicker. Namely, there's 4 threes, 4 fours, and 4 aces. So 36 ways to get 2s, 3s, and 4s with a kicker. Dividing 2.598960, which I use 2.6 million if you don't need too much precision, and this is something where you don't need that much precision. It's a lot easier. It comes out to a little more than once every 72,000 hands. This is 3 times as often as getting dealt aces with a kicker, simply because with aces you only have 1 rank, but with 2s, 3s, and 4s you have 3 ranks. I once played at a table alone with a dealer at a tribal casino, where the dealer seemed to know that I was counting, and he started not showing his whole card if I busted, and he put the card into the out tray and didn't turn it over. I objected and told him he had to, and he said I was counting and he did not have to show me the card. I was flabbergasted and did not want to challenge him further, since they might kick me out. Is this legal? And could I have pushed it further? Later on in the same session, a different table where I had the same dealer again, but another player, and he did not do this. The count went extremely high. I decided to split 10s against the 6, since I figured he already knew I was counting and it really had nothing to lose. I won huge on the hand and decided to leave. Richard.
So is it legal? Yeah, it's an Indian casino. They can do anything they want. And even in Las Vegas, in Nevada, that would be legal. They can do that. When a dealer does that, you should immediately just get up and leave the table, and don't let him know that that's the reason you're leaving the table. This dealer suspects that you're a card counter. The last thing you want to do is confirm it for him, and then you went back and played at his table again. So, yeah, when that happens, I have to go to the bathroom or whatever, and you do not let on and just leave the table. That's what's known as a hero dealer. He's the kind of guy who's going to go rat you out to the bosses to prove how smart he is. He's going to go to the boss and go, that guy's counting cards. And, you're going to end up backed off in the place. So that's what you should do. Is it legal? Yes, of course. And I would be surprised if you're not backed off the next time you go after splitting tens in front of the guy.
All right. And that's it for our questions. Keep them coming. We get a lot of repeats, but at the same time, these are a lot of fun. And sometimes we have to go and look up the answers to questions, which makes it fun for us too. So at the end of our show, we have a recommended section. Before the show, Richard indicated he does not have a recommended this week. Has that changed in the last hour, Richard?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I finished, I mentioned last week, I think, that the new season of Ozark, which I finished, and man, it was good, although the ending, they better have another season coming, because the ending did not resolve everything. And now I'm watching the new season of Billions, which I love that show. I think I've recommended it in the past. It's by the guys who wrote Rounders. But yeah, other than that, I mean, because I've recommended that already, I don't really have anything to recommend this week.
And I'm going to recommend a 60-year-old movie, The Misfits, starring Clark Gable, Marilyn Monroe, Montgomery Clift, and Eli Wallach. This 1961 movie was the last one made by both Clark Gable and Marilyn Monroe, whose final husband, Arthur Miller, did the screenplay, and they were on the outs when this was done, and which made for some awkward screening. Most reviewers consider this to be Gable's and Monroe's best acting. It's not a happy movie, but the acting is superb and the plot engaging. Marilyn plays a woman getting a divorce in Reno. She runs into Wallach and Gable, who are cowboys, and they are both enchanted by her. Cliff is a down-on-his-luck cowboy. Monroe mainly becomes Gable's girl, but she has feelings for anybody and anything when they get hurt. All of them decide to go into the Mustang Roundup business. When Monroe finds out that the animals are going to get killed, she gets really upset, and that affects the whole scene. The movie is available on Canopy, spelled with a K, which is a free streaming service to anybody with a library card.
Yeah, I think it was Montgomery Clift's last movie, too. I'm not sure about that, but I think so.
Could be. Eli Wallach outlived the movie by 50 years and had a major career. But it's quite engaging. And even if I had seen it 60 years ago, I would probably be glad to go back and watch it again. It's amazing how much you forget in some of these movies. All right. So, Richard, thank you. Thank you to our listeners for sending in the questions. Go out and hit lots of royal flushes, everybody. Good day.